of a black swallowtail butterfly begins as an egg, usually laid on a parsley plant or a dill plant. When they first come out of the egg, they look like this. They're black with white and yellow spots, but eventually they get brighter and brighter green, also with yellow spots and some black spots on them. Yes, that is poop that's going to come out of that caterpillar, but in the world of caterpillars, that is called frass. Another unique thing about a black swallowtail caterpillar is that it has something called osmeterium. When it gets disturbed or scared, it releases these little horns from its head. And it has kind of a funky, cheesy smell that accompanies it that a lot of predators really don't like to smell, so it keeps them away. But once the threat is gone, it just goes right back to normal. Caterpillars go through a variety of what are called instars. That's just different stages of their caterpillar life. They grow and then they molt, and then they grow some more, and then they molt again. All the while, they eat, and they eat, and they eat. And as they eat, they grow brighter and brighter green. I like watching their legs cling to whatever it is they're trying to eat. In this case, he's eating some dill. And this caterpillar belonged to Mrs. Scomra and is enjoying its parsley plant. As they eat, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and in the next clip, you're going to see one caterpillar who is so fat, he's just laying on his side, sucking down the dill as fast as he can. Watch this guy go. This is not time lapse. This is actually how fast he's eating. He grips and he eats. He goes to another end and he grips and he eats. And as soon as he's done with that stalk of the plant, he will go grab another end and grip and eat. And this is non-stop, and you can see how huge he's getting to be. Eventually, the caterpillars will go on what is called their walkabout. They are ready to start forming their chrysalis, and so they wander around looking for a good place to do so. They leave the host plant typically and find a nearby stalk to attach to. Or in the case of the ones that I was keeping, I had them in a cage that I had created, and so they found a good place along the metal bars that seemed like a good spot to build a chrysalis. They spin a girdle of silk that holds them in place, which you'll be able to see here momentarily. You'll see the silk just coming right out of the top of them, attaching to the limb. That's a really good picture of him. And you can see he's at work, hard at work, starting to get his chrysalis formed. So even though he's attached, he's wiggling about. The chrysalis can be green or brown. Green means it's likely to hatch in a couple of weeks. Brown means it's likely to stay through until the following spring. Once the butterfly comes out of the chrysalis or it closes, its wings are not fully formed. It needs to pump fluid into the wings. So that's why these wings look all curled up in these images. But over time, they will indeed fill those with fluid and become what we're more familiar with in terms of an adult butterfly. I like this image because you can see his proboscis just curling and uncurling. It's his long tongue, his proboscis. That's what he drinks through. It's kind of like a straw, really. And when it first comes out, it's in two parts and it has to stitch up and become one part so that then he can drink. And he does that while his wings are getting more and more complete. You can see his chrysalis there in the background where he just came out, or it closed is the technical term. Now you get a really good look at his wings. And now he's a little wobbly still, but he's making his way around the cage, trying to figure out where he's got some food source. In the wild, of course, he would have been right on a plant where he could have gotten something quickly. And in this case, he has some juicy juice actually in his cage down at the bottom that he's going to find eventually. This swallowtail happens to be a female. The female has a lot more blue on its wings and a lot less yellow. In a minute, we're going to go over and see some of the butterflies that Mrs. Scomber hatched, and you'll see that she happens to have a male because it has a lot more yellow and less blue. Now, if you take a look at this butterfly that Mrs. Scomber raised, you can see how much more yellow is on the wings. So that's how you know that this one happens to be a male. Eventually, it's time for the adult butterflies to take off. Sometimes they need a little help. So in this case, Mrs. Scomber is going to try and reach in and help him out. There he goes. And there's one of mine on my deck, ready to take off. And finally, he landed in my garden, ready to start everything all over again.